Alhamdulillah wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. I bear witness, praise be to God, I bear witness there is no God but one God and He has no partners. Inshallah, today I want to share a khutbah done by our submitter brother Akib Sylvester. It is discussing very nice points, Quranic points, which I would like to share with you all inshallah in this khutbah. So I want to talk about how everyone is competing for our attention. Everybody wants our attention. Either they want us to watch something, movie, TV, show some commercial that they want us to listen, new songs, albums, Hollywood, Bollywood, you name it. They want us to play something, even games, download applications, PlayStation, and since list goes on. Also pay this one out that pay attention that everybody is competing for our attention. Basically, they want our attention. Our attention is number one commodity right now. People and companies, they make money out of our attention. Our attention is worth a lot of money, and they know this. They know. In 2016, for example, the average Facebook person was spending 15 minutes a day on Facebook. This is an old report, 2016. And like 1.6 to 1.8 billion active users. This is a report of 2016. You can imagine how many people were spending time on Facebook and social media. And actively engaged on the site. And users spending at least close to an hour on Facebook, at least an hour. And this is not accidental. It is not because Facebook added some magical spell or has greatest content in the world. It's because application itself is engineered to keep your attention to because the attention makes money. They want our attention because the attention makes money. Basically, the more you spend time, let's give you an example. The more time we spend on the social media, automatically we will see some ads, we will come across certain information. In fact, this is not new. Now, most people know when you're searching for something and then later on you will see the ads popping up, the same similar things that you were looking on internet. So, they make money out of our attention. So our attention has a lot of value, monetary value. And there's some extreme, we don't want to basically attack Facebook, but it is to make the point that they want our attention worth a lot of money. So we have to ask ourselves, do we pay this much our attention once knowing the value of our attention, that it is a high value? Are we putting this attention to ourselves, paying attention to ourselves? Or how much you value yourself, do you pay enough attention to yourself, or how much you value yourself? We're going through training process to appreciate the fact that our attention makes companies billions, because our attention is the most useful way to focus things in our lives, to enhance our lives. Facebook trying to enhance our lives, YouTube, or many other ways. These are tools. They use to the service value in our attention, and we need to remember our attention, our life, it's our time. We know that the value of our time is much more than anything, especially as submitters, that we know each and every penny counts, as Dr. Rashad Khalifa said. Every moment counts, how we spend it. Either it goes. Anything that we know that is not in cause of God, we are spending that time, it's basically useless for us. So you have to understand that wasting your attention or you placing it something that returns value, this isn't a commodity. It's trades with things, and those things either add value to you or they subtract value. And in the Quran, God says in chapter 33, ayah 41, He said, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Oh, you believe, you shall remember God frequently. Remember Him frequently." We are told basically to remember Him day and night. When there are other verses also reflecting to us that we should never be unaware of God. God says in chapter 15 to place our attention on Him. So our attention mainly should be on God. There was a nice example by the Messenger of the Covenant that let's divide the day into 100 units. How many of these time from these 100 sections, how many of that we are remembering God? And we have to make sure we better spending more than 50% of that, because it should be more than anything else, our attention, our remembrance of God. And he said in chapter 50, ayah 14, during the night you shall meditate on His name, you shall meditate on His name, as here we are told to trade our attention for the meditation on God's name. And is that what we want to speak about today? Placing our attention on a meditation on God, to meditate on His name, as mentioned in chapter 17, ayah 110. It says, call Him God, call Him the most gracious. Pay attention to this. The most gracious, call Him, calling God the most gracious. Whatever name we choose, to Him belongs the best names. You shall utter your contact prayers not too loudly nor secretly. Use a moderate tone. God says the best names belongs to Him. He didn't say the better names or okay names or acceptable names. He said the best names, it belongs to Him. Meaning perfect names, sublime names belongs to Him. And we are told to meditate on these best names, on these sublime names, and it's a meditation. This is a misconception belief about what meditation is. It's not a meditation where you sit down and you do yoga, pose, and you close your hand. There are certain medication that you should not think about anything. You're just thinking about your breathing. You don't think about anything. Quran is not talking about that medication. You're basically clearing your thought. That doesn't want you forget. There's as we know, there's a misconception about meditation, because in psychology, sorry, I lost the transcript. In psychology, we want to see the definition of meditation. Is that practice of turning attention to a single point of reference. In other words, meditation means turn your attention away from distracting things and focusing on the present moment. That's a psychological, scientific definition of meditation. So basically to focus our attention, our thought to one single reference point. So meditation means placing our attention on one thing without distractions. So when God says you shall meditate on His name, it means place your attention on His attributes now. Being the present moment, now place your attention on His name, now meditate is driven with attention. It is your attention focused. Like when you have a magnifying glass and the sun is beaming, that sun is like your attention. But when you turn it and focus it, you centralize it on one thing. Today we're going to reflect the clear point on meditating on one God's name. God frequently points out these attributes in the Quran. If you pay attention, it is either one or two or three verses where He ends the first attribute about Him. So you saw God is most forgiving. So, and then God is a avenger. So God is a redeemer. He focuses, He tells you things about Him in an average of like 3 or 4 verses. This is super important. Why it is important? Because God always telling us something about Him. It helps us to understand who God is when we say La ilaha illallah, which is there is no God but one God. So understanding of who God is and those attributes help us understand the head reality of He understanding His qualities, and actually help us understand who He is, and that attracts our attention to Him and His attributes. So basically, as we see around us, many people are distracted. It could be any reason. Distraction is not only from social media, as I mentioned, or different platforms. It can be from family, relatives, from job. Distractions it's actually a lot of distractions around us if we pay attention. A lot of distractions, and we want Quran is. Those who believe, they realize, and the message of Quran is to divert your attention from these distractions and focus on God and the hereafter. So it is basically attracting our attention to many aspects of God, about His true qualities, mainly the most important, that God is running everything, and our purpose of life, which for many people it is confused, not knowing the purpose of life, what we should do. Every step of the way is mentioned in the Quran. What should we really do to reach salvation? What path we should choose, A to Z, it is in the Quran, for us to help us not to get distracted in this life, and to remain on the path of God for those who choose it. Because at the end, the message is everywhere. We have Quran now all around the world. We have the purified message of God. We have the mathematical proof. And I'm sure you have experience, once you share the knowledge with people surrounding us, majority of them either choose not to study it, or those who study, they try to challenge it. You see that in other words, it's been rejected or not paid attention to. So that's why Quran, as we know, is a book of guidance, and it's a book of misguidance also. It's a book of guidance for those who are seeking the truth. For those who would like to be guided, they decide to become submitters, as we know from the Quran. Inshallah, we continue next khutbah. Tubu ilallah. Alhamdulillah, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Praise be to God. I bear witness, there is no God but one God, and He has no partners. So inshallah we look at the Quranic ayahs. We know that every community receives a honor. God, the most gracious, as we know, He came down here. He didn't leave us on our own in the darkness. It was not that, okay, you fell down. In fact, God has done everything, any more than actually what we need to be redeemed. But it boils down for those who recognize it, seeking the truth sincerely, recognizing the truth and following it. So the instruction is there for anyone who wants to see. The proof is there for anyone who wants to see, anytime, anywhere. Especially now that when we have the proof of mathematical miracle of Quran. Anywhere, in India, in China, Quran we have everywhere, right? And when they look at the mathematical miracle of Quran, it's clear. The message is clear. All the man-made innovations will be easily distinguished. Yet, we see that honestly, me personally, I was expecting, when I saw the videos of the late Messenger of the Covenant, I was expecting much more population to come into submission. Like comparing now when I look at other countries and the number of submitters, me personally, I was thinking is much more. For example, I saw some forums, the highest is 1,000, 2,000. We are, in this, comparing to the population of the earth, 1,000, 5,000 is a very small number. However, we know at the end of the days, the number doesn't count. Who is following what it counts is that the only thing that counts when we return to God is righteousness. So I said to myself, instead of looking, paying attention to the number of submitters or anything, I need to think about my own neck. God has given me the book. So I have a lot of shortcomings myself, so I have to work on my own shortcomings. And basically to nourish my soul. And this is what any submitter should do, you know. Yes, of course, God said that we have to spread His message when people who are around us, and we have to spread God's message. We cannot keep silent. Not only that, in fact, I believe we cannot keep the identity of messenger of covenant hidden. Some people spread the message, they share all the information, and they ask, where did you get all this information? And they try to hold back the information that these were confirmed, discovered by Dr. Rashad Khalifa. He was a messenger of the covenant, prophesied here. I see that many people are thinking twice or trying to, we cannot do that. We cannot choose and give half of the truth and like that, otherwise all our works will be nullified. When we share God's message, I mentioned in my previous khutbah, when we share God's message, it should be absolute truth from the Quran. We cannot add our personal opinions, we cannot change, we cannot hold anything. This is very important because we have a greater responsibility when we spread God's message. We have to make sure we deliver the Quranic message. We don't change anything based on our understanding or anything. Same verse it come in my mind when the God is warning the Prophet Muhammad that had you sided with them just a little bit, we would have stopped the revelation to you, and we would have punished you, and no one would have helped you against us. So just a little bit, if Prophet Muhammad would have sided to the opinions of other people or disbeliever, imagine 23 years, all these years. I don't know when that revelation was there, this ayah, but I know that already he was into receiving the revelations, yeah. He went through so many ridiculing, he went during so much tough times. We know it was not easy, you know, they started small and spreading, so many people turned against them, so many people tried to persecute them. It was very, very big responsibility, you know, to the point people attacking you right and left, trying to ban you, banish you. Yet God says if you would have done a little bit mistake in that regard, we would have stopped the revelations to you and we would have punished you. So this again proves to us that we have a great responsibility in spreading God's message. But somehow we are on our own, we are messengers. Yeah, when we sit with people, when we are sharing God's message, the message of the Quran, the mathematical proof, we have to make sure we do not change anything and we give the whole message. Nothing added, nothing subtracted. And again, we cannot hide the identity of the messenger of the covenant. Because this is important. We have the three messengers of Islam, you know. People as they learn, they keep time study, they understand that importance. You know, the religious practices were given to Abraham, and then Prophet Muhammad, and then the purifying messenger who was Dr. Rashad Khalifa. The three messengers of Islam. Now imagine you hold that back. Because these questions, in my debate, when I spread God's message, they come up with this question, where did you learn all these things? This is new. So my response to them is, it appears new to you, but actually it is same when Prophet Muhammad came, he mentioned to the idol worshippers of Quraysh that you shall not, your worship practices should be dedicated to Allah alone. You shall not ask from these idols and stuff. So even those generations, they said this is something new. Even during the time of our prophets, other prophets, when they go, you're coming, you're telling us, you know, our parents used to worship this, now you're telling me to worship God alone. Or when Moses was asked, what about previous generations? All these generations, they're doing our way of worshipping, and now you're saying you worship God alone. He said, God never forget, never err. So what does it mean? It means that to their response that you think this is a norm, but it's something new, but it's not new. Because it's a common sense that what did came out of Prophet Muhammad's mouth. They will agree, it's Al-Quran Al-Karim. So you mentioned, this is the book that we have to follow. This is a book that he brought. So it's nothing new. We had one book, it was Al-Quran Al-Karim. And then it goes on explaining about the previous followers of previous scriptures did the same mistake, like the Jews, the Christians. Always you see some innovation after that. So you don't try to explain that there's nothing new. It was always we are commanded to worship God alone and to follow His word alone. And slightest compromise in this matter can nullify all our works. We cannot compromise in this matter. Our only source of guidance is Quran. We cannot refer to any other book as a source of guidance, as a source of law in the religion of Islam, because we know there are so many innovations added over the time. And another example was that recently I had a conversation. It took a very long time. I came from work like 7, 8 p.m. It was an Iranian guy who from a Shia background, lives in Dubai. Around 3 hours we were having Zoom. 45 minutes, again log in, 45 minutes, we were having conversation about this. So he was trying to find, when I discuss about this, the message of submission, he was trying to find a way that this is extreme. He was trying to tell me, for example, going and asking things from Imam Reza in that place. People are going there asking things, but the way is not that we're really asking him. We just believe that since he was having a good example, he was follower, he reached to a good position with God, that's why we are asking him. This man is like 50 years old, educated person. I said, his name is, I said, Mr. Mansur, just think about what you're saying. There is a verse in the Quran, God says, I'm closer to your jugular vein. I'm close. I always respond to those who, to my servants. And now you're saying it is okay to go to praise someone whom we never know, we never met. There's just a Zari, we call it. And asking things, how I said idol worship is don't have horns or anything. What do you think it is? And he's thinking. People trying to find a way to create excuses that no, it's not that it's only this way. There are people who you can pray to, who are in better position. Then directly I showed him that it contradicts the Quranic teachings. You cannot refer to anyone for guidance, even if they are alive. The Imam or they are going there, they are not there, right? Even if someone is alive, we want any help, guidance, we cannot rely on any human being. And that also, see, all these information are in the Quran, that also cost us dearly, You want a salary increase, you want something to do, you're looking for human connections, please help me, can you talk to this person, get it done? It is same like what Joseph did. Joseph asked, remember me at your Lord. In other words, he thought that this person can benefit me. He will go, he will talk to the king, I will be released. What happened? He remained in prison a few more years. Not 1, 2 weeks, a few more years. And that is so important that we rely on Allah alone. Source of guidance, support, everything. He is any intelligent person. He is the Lord of the universe. He designed everything. He knows everything in and out, innermost, our present, future, everything. The most knowledgeable. He is the one who provides for us. He is the one who will laugh or make us laugh or cry. He is the one who can only guide. He is the only healer. It's all in God's hands. So why we have to go and rely on something else? Especially if it is someone who is passed away many centuries before. This is where God says those who possess intelligence will take heed. When the God is closer to our jugular vein and everything is in His hand, and clearly in the Quran, and these are the people who agree that the Quran is word of God, and we have clearly ayahs in the Quran that He is the provider, He is everything in His hand. Yet they come up with these ideas that there is any room to ask anything from someone else, dead or alive. We cannot do that. We cannot ask with the intention of thinking that this person can benefit me. If I develop my relationship with this person, he will talk to the owner of the company, he will increase my salary, or they will give me more commission. That is idol worship. It's clearly idol worship. We know, we do our best, we pray to God, and our provision is an example. There are so many other matters, health. Our provision is controlled fully by God. So if there's going to be a salary increase, you do your best, you see the performance evaluation, and your salary is already decided by God. It's already decided. It will increase, how many percentage increase, what is the expiry, how long you're working in that company, it's so many other things. So That's why happiness is submission to God alone. Happiness is submission to God alone, because we know that our everything is in God's hand. In fact, we don't know the next day we are alive or not. So now we have to be very careful as submitters, not to rely on anyone for the source of religious guidance except the Quran. God is the best teacher. We don't rely on anyone in terms of provisions, in terms of health, nothing. And if, of course, that doesn't mean if I have a health issue, I don't go to the doctor. First of all, if I have a health issue, I have to look what I have done. Secondly, if I go to the doctor, I pray to Allah, because there are so many people with millions of dollars, they afford the best doctors in the world, yet they cannot get treatment. They are not healed. Rare conditions. You have millions of dollars, nothing can help you. So even that pill is working according to God's will. Even that pill which the doctor giving it to us. So may Allah help us always to remember this, to remember that our only source of information, guidance, hidayah, rizq, provisions, everything is in Allah's hand. Therefore, we only rely on Him on every step of our life, inshallah. Hakim as-salah.